Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is in the Middle East today, trying to support the current ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and trying to, as he explains, build international support for the rebuilding of the war-torn Gaza. The question is, rebuilding it to what? Blinken was scheduled to visit Jerusalem and meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Minister of Defense Benny Gantz, and Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi. Blinken will meet again Tuesday night in Jerusalem with the opposition leader, Yair Lapid, who still holds the mandate for forming a new government. So that's pretty interesting, meeting with the opposition leader, and in addition to Netanyahu. Okay, well, what about the Palestinian side? Well, in the afternoon, Blinken's motorcade arrived in Ramallah for a meeting with the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. He will not meet Hamas, which the US and Israel consider a terrorist organization. He will then travel to Egypt, which brokered the ceasefire, and Jordan. Now, I heard you, Dr. Richey, laughing a little bit about not meeting with Hamas. And I think for some people that feels like well, of course they know the US wouldn't meet with Hamas, which has been deemed by the US as a terrorist organization. Hamas also, and nobody wants to talk about this, is the democratically elected government of Gaza.
That's right.
So call it what you will, but that's who's in power right now. You can use the terrorism word or not. But and obviously I assume that there will be talks or representatives, somebody in Egypt when Anthony Blinken goes to speak with them. But I don't know what your thoughts are. My feeling around this is, why just stay in Ramallah? Ramallah is, arguably like sort of the biggest and most developed city in the West Bank. But I'm like, go to Gaza. Why not go see how easy it is to get into Gaza, right? Or go to a town inside of Israel, like a Palestinian majority town, and see the settler violence there. Or go to a smaller town in the West Bank and see the settler violence there. Go to Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem, where all of this started. Ramallah is a little bit of an easy way out, and Mahmoud Abbas, as I think a lot of Palestinians would agree, is sort of the most capitulating and agreeable when it comes to the allowing for the Israeli ongoing project of settlements, and sort of the also upholding the status quo from the Palestinian side.
Yeah, this is all about plausible deniability. They don't go there, they don't have to face the reality of what they will learn. Now, do they already know it? Of course they know it. They know it, but they have deniability right now. They can deny they know it. They can deny the nuances that are important to the narrative. Let's talk about terrorism. I've always found it quite laughable how America will classify or not classify those who are actual terrorists. The KKK, still by many, not considered to be a terrorist organization, right? What happened on January 6th, that's terrorism to me. That was an act of violence in order to make a political point, right? No, those were protesters. They were unruly, it was unfortunate, so they won't call them protesters. You have a bomb being sent by Israel that blew up children. If I'm one of the parents, or one of those children is my sibling, you're a terrorist to me. You are a terrorist to me. And that's how complex the matter gets. Having a US policy that says we are, as a blanket policy, no nuance, no exception, we are not going to include a conversation that is required for a solution, is such a blind spot. It's almost like a comedy that we see the failure about to happen.
Yes.
You are leaving out an important piece of the puzzle that's required.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to that end, if the whole point of this trip is to try and build international support for humanitarian aid to Gaza, you might want to ask Israel on that one. So just for folks to know, this is from The Guardian. Blinken says that he called on greater economic opportunities in both occupied West Bank territories and Gaza, which has been under an Israeli blockade since Hamas came to power in a 2007 election. That sentence right there is all you need to know about Gaza. Oh, I'm advocating for greater economic opportunities and a rebuilding of ravaged places like the COVID testing site in Gaza for Palestinians. Oh, also, there's a giant blockade that Israel leads, preventing any goods coming in and out of Gaza all the time. Anywho, I'm just gonna not connect those two parts
not
of that
connect
sentence.
them. Don't do anything about it. Don't say anything to actually change that. Let's just move on as if it'll work out.
Oh yeah, and look, a lot is made of the tunnels, right? Tunnels between Gaza and like Egypt and or Israel. And I understand that yes, potentially rockets, weapons are going through those tunnels, but also baby formula, aspirin, construction material. Those things are also going through those tunnels for Gazans who are cut off from the outside world, and their only way for goods to get in and out is through Israel. And just to show that Israel does have control of this, on the day that Anthony Blinken arrived in Jerusalem, Israel allowed food and fuel into the coastal strip for the first time since the fighting ended.
Amazing.
Food and fuel for the first time. So what are we to understand? Exactly, so people have needs like food and fuel, and those things have not been accessible to Gazans in the last, like 5 days now since the ceasefire or more. And that, oh yeah, Israel's like, okay, we will allow this. Meanwhile, you ask Israel any other time, you ask the government any other time about why they're allowing a blockade to continue, and they're like, oh, because it's all weapons. It's always weapons. There's nothing but weapons. Well, what about the food and fuel? No, weapons. So.
Yep, that's the narrative. That's the disguise. You know the big difference between Israel and the Palestinians? Israel has a better public relations team. Okay, just think about that. Because for so long, people have demonized the Palestinians and have glorified the Israelis. You have presidents like Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter. He knew what was up back then. And he decided to tell you what was up. Oh, they blasted him. I'm not talking about Republicans, I'm talking about Democrats. They blasted him for his stance in halfway support of Palestinians.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, he was seen as a pariah after that statement. I mean, and he wrote an entire book about it. He was, he believes in this so much. Look, we're gonna see what happens with Anthony Blinken. I think it is a really good start that these 500 staffers are putting pressure on the Biden administration. Look, we can't be talking about this issue like it's the 80s or the 90s. It is 2021, and every day our children are being detained and shot at and killed.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.